The wind rolled low across the open plain, a long sigh that stirred the grass and carried the scent of coming rain. The sun was dipping, melting behind the ridges in a wash of copper and gold. Sarah stood by the porch rail of the old ranch house, her fingers resting on the worn wood. The boards creaked under her weight, and she thought the sound matched the feeling in her chest, something old and tired, but still holding on. She had spent most of the day trying not to think, but that never worked out well for her. The ranch looked the same as it always had. The barn sagged a little more each year, and the corral fence leaned to the west from too many storms. The horses grazed quietly, their tails flicking at the flies. Somewhere a hawk cried. The stillness pressed on her. That was when she heard the crunch of boots on gravel. She didn't have to look to know who it was. No one else walked that slow, that's sure. The rhythm of it, measured, heavy, inevitable, sent a ripple through her chest. She told herself not to turn around, not to give him the satisfaction of seeing that she cared. But her body betrayed her anyway. He came up the path with the sun at his back. Jack, the rancher, her husband, though that word had started to feel more like a memory than a fact. He stopped a few feet away, hat pulled low, face half in shadow. He looked older, rougher, like the land had taken its toll on him. Maybe it had on both of them. He said her name, low and careful, as if testing whether it still belonged to him. She didn't answer right away. Her hands trembled just slightly, and she focused on the small silver chain around her neck, the one he had given her years ago. It had once meant something. Maybe it still did. She reached up and unfastened it, the tiny clasp clicking softly like the snap of a twig. I took it off, she said quietly, barely more than a breath. Easy now. The chain slid through her fingers and dropped into the dust. It glittered once before the light faded from it. Jack's eyes followed the fall, but he didn't move to pick it up. His jaw flexed, his face unreadable. He stepped forward, slow, each movement deliberate, like a man approaching a horse that might bolt. Sarah didn't move. She felt her heartbeat quicken. The air between them was thin and sharp, full of words they had never said. He told her she shouldn't be out here alone. His voice was calm, but there was something under it. Fear, maybe, or regret. She said maybe she was done doing what she should. Maybe it was time to do what she wanted. That made him pause. His hand twitched near his belt buckle, as though he didn't know what to do with it. The silence grew thick again. Somewhere out in the pasture, a gate banged against its post, and a cow lowed in the distance. The wind picked up, tugging at the loose strands of her hair. She looked at him hard then. Really looked, and saw the man who had once been hers. The same eyes. The same shoulders she had leaned on, but changed somehow. There was a weight on him now, something that made him look older than his years. He said, careful now. Ain't no turning back once you start something like this. She said she already started. Then she pointed to the silver chain in the dirt. You gave me that the night you left, she said. He knelt down slowly, the leather of his coat creaking, and picked up the chain. He turned it in his palm, staring at it as though it could tell him what to do next. He said he didn't think she'd still have it. Didn't think you'd come back, she said. He didn't answer, just looked at her, then at the chain. The light caught in his eyes, and she could see the storm gathering there. Then he did something she didn't expect. He reached up and pulled off his wedding ring. The movement was slow, like it cost him something. He turned it once between his fingers, then tossed it into the dust beside the necklace. It landed with a dull thud. Guess we're both letting go, he said. Sarah felt something twist in her chest. Letting go. The words tasted wrong, bitter. She didn't know if that was what she wanted at all. Maybe she just wanted him to feel what she had felt, left, forgotten, emptied. The light kept fading. The shadows stretched longer across the yard, swallowing the fence line, reaching toward the porch like long, dark fingers. Jack took another step closer. His boots scraped the earth. She could feel the warmth of him now, just inches away. So what now, she asked. Her voice barely steady. He looked at her for a long time. And in that look, she saw the man who used to laugh with her under this same porch roof, who used to hold her like the world couldn't touch them. That man was still there, buried under the years. But so was everything else, the fights, the leaving, the silence that followed. "Now," he said slowly, "we see if there's still something worth holding on to." But even as he said it, something in his tone told her he didn't believe it. Not really. He took another step forward, and for a heartbeat, she thought he might touch her. She almost wanted him to, but then he stopped, eyes drifting past her shoulder to the dark window behind her. Something moved there. He tensed instantly. She saw it too, a flicker of shadow, a shape that shouldn't have been there. Her stomach dropped. Jack's hand went to his holster out of habit, and Sarah's breath caught. The shape moved again, and the faint glint of metal flashed in the window. Jack whispered her name, but before she could answer, the sound of a door creaking open echoed through the stillness. From inside the house came Tom, Jack's younger brother, the one who was supposed to be long gone. His shirt was half-buttoned, his eyes hard. The world tilted sideways for a second as Sarah realized the truth she had been trying not to face. Tom looked from Jack to her, and then to the necklace on the ground. The silence was a knife between them. Jack's face went pale, all color drained out of it. His voice was low when he spoke, too calm. "So this is it," he said. Sarah tried to speak, but her mouth was dry. She hadn't meant for it to happen this way. Tom had come around after Jack left months ago, when she was alone and angry and too proud to wait. She hadn't thought Jack would ever return. Tom stepped forward, saying something that sounded like an apology and a challenge at the same time. Jack's eyes didn't leave his brother's face. The tension in the air was unbearable, heavy as thunder. Sarah moved between them, pleading, but the words came out broken. Jack said easy now, like he was talking to a spooked horse. Easy. Nobody needs to do something they can't take back. But the unthinkable had already started. Tom's hand went to his hip, and the world seemed to hold its breath. Jack moved faster than thought, grabbing Tom's arm, twisting it away. The gun clattered to the ground. The struggle was quick and brutal, a flash of fists and dust. Sarah screamed, but the sound barely carried over the wind, then silence again. Jack stood over Tom, breathing hard, blood on his knuckles, rage in his eyes. He looked at Sarah then, really looked, and whatever hope had flickered there before was gone. He bent down, picked up the gun, and unloaded it one bullet at a time. Each click was final. He tossed it into the dirt, near the ring and the chain, all the things that had meant something once now lying together in the dust. He said he wasn't going to stay. Couldn't, not after this. The land had already taken enough from him, and so had love. Sarah begged him not to go, but he was already walking away, the sun a dying glow behind him. His shadow stretched long across the yard until it disappeared into the twilight. She wanted to call out, to say something that might undo what had been done, but no words came. Tom sat on the porch steps, head in his hands, silent. The fight had taken the fire out of him. Sarah turned away from both of them and stared out toward the hills, where the horizon swallowed the light. The wind rose again, carrying dust and the faint smell of rain. She thought about the chain, the ring, the gun, 3 pieces of a story she wished she could rewrite. But out here things didn't get rewritten. They just got buried and left behind. She sank to her knees in the dirt, picked up the chain, and wrapped it around her hand until it bit into her skin. She held it there, eyes closed, as the first drops of rain began to fall. Somewhere far off, she thought she heard hooves, the sound of Jack's horse fading into the distance, steady and unbroken. She whispered into the dark, words she hadn't said in years. Maybe he heard them, maybe he didn't. When the rain came harder, it washed the dust from the porch steps, carried the ring and the bullets into the mud, but the chain stayed in her hand. She stayed there a long time, until the storm passed and the night settled heavy and quiet. By morning, the ground would be dry again, and the world would look the same. But she knew it wasn't. Something had been taken off easy now, but what was left behind would never fit the same way again. And somewhere beyond the ridge, Jack kept riding, the unthinkable behind him, the horizon wide open before him, and the sound of rain chasing him into the dawn.